So that was your update on Super Tuesday. Now we'll get back to the racing.
We got one question. So we had to refresh our internet for a minute there. But we do have a question. Do we think that Roush, within the 2 races, have they stepped up?
Marginally.
Their performance has gotten better.
I won't say it's gotten better. From last year, it was horrible to me.
It can't get worse.
Biffle did pretty good at Daytona. Trevor Bayne qualified in the top 10 at Atlanta this week.
Well, all of them got to the top 12, didn't they?
And Stenhouse finished 10th.
Yeah, which is pretty damn good for you.
So I mean, they're trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
But are they a whole lot better than they were last year? I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna.
I will say that I think they're better than they were last year.
Will they win a race this year?
Yes.
Yeah, I would think.
Which driver do you think would be?
If anybody does, it'll be Biffle. I don't see Trevor doing it, and I don't see. I don't see Stenhouse doing it. You know.
I don't see Stenhouse. Yeah, I see Biffle. I can see Biffle retiring in a few years, pretty soon.
I don't know about that now.
Yeah,
I see him maybe going somewhere else if the option is out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
he almost left when Carl left, and I think they went to him after Carl was gone and said, "Hey, please."
4, 6, 2.
Hello, Mr. Bellicourt. How you doing? And welcome to the show.
What's up, guys? How are you?
We're doing great. How's everything up in your neck of the woods?
Oh, not too bad. Just a little bit chilly, but not bad at all.
Well, Kevin, you guys have gotten off to a great start this year. 2 top 10s and everything looking good. How's the change been to go to work at ThorSports?
It's been great so far. We got off to a really good start. I'm pretty excited about that. It's always good to start the season off on the right foot, and knocking out 2 top 10s like that was awesome. The transition up here has been great. It's a top-notch organization with a lot of experience with crew chiefs like Junior Joyner around me, and then you got Matt Crafton for Ben to lean on. It's a great place for us to be, and it's obviously just a championship caliber organization. They show that year after year, and it's been a lot of fun to be a part of so far.
Well, I seen the other day that Matt Crafton does spend a lot of time with the other drivers. I saw him a lot with Rico Abreu the other day, and I think he's even talked to Ben a couple times. So, he's a good person to lean on.
Oh, he's a great person to lean on. I mean, his record speaks for itself. He's incredibly good driving anything, but he's had a lot of success in these trucks, and just to help the learning curve for Rico and Ben, and I think he helped Cameron a lot last year. Cameron's got some good seat time now, so we can actually lean on him too. But to have somebody with that experience and his speed, and just to have him to be able to give information to Ben, it's awesome. And Ben's been able to utilize some of it, and it's been a big help so far.
Kevin, from a personal standpoint in your career, how was it that how did you really get it in your mind that, hey, I've got to move to ThorSport? And a personal standpoint, that's moving away from the Carolina area, going up there. How did that feel for you to be able to do that? I mean,
Or how'd you talk your wife into that?
You just hit the nail on the head. Truth be told, my wife's an incredible woman, and she didn't even bat an eye. She's been involved in racing her whole life. Her dad's Randy McDonald, who owned a nationwide team for a long time and raced for years and years and years. So she understood the opportunity, and that's the biggest thing is, as a crew chief, you want to put yourself in a position to succeed, and to come to a place like ThorSport with the people that they have here and their championship pedigree. I mean, it was, besides it being in Ohio, it was an absolute no-brainer, and for us, it wasn't really hard to get over that. I mean, it's just a matter of picking up and moving. It wasn't a question of, was it just going to be me that moved? She was always all in, and we were moving as a family, and that was awesome. So it was just kind of a no-brainer on a personal level, because you think, what else could I ask for than to be in a situation like this, and a team like this, with a manufacturer like Toyota, to be able to take the next step in my career, and so far it's worked out pretty good. And like I said, having good people to lean on around me, and help me learn and pick up on these trucks. It's been a big help.
Now, give me a little bit. You're new to it. You're going up there to ThorSport, and you're new to the whole thing. How is it that the logistics work out between you being your team being all the way in Ohio, and all the center of racing is basically Charlotte? How does the logistics work out? I mean, it has to be a little bit of a hard time doing certain things.
It is. You got to kind of plan ahead. Toyota's awesome. Triad and getting motors up here. Their schedule is just awesome. I mean, they make life as easy as possible. Always seem to have motors a couple weeks in advance. I know I've only been here for 2 races, but I know how it worked last year. Just talking to the guys, and they keep us ahead. And then you just kind of got to plan. You got to think a couple weeks down the road and know if you're going to need some parts. You just can't have that spur of the moment. Oh, I need this, and drive over to the parts store and get it. So that's the only thing that you lack. Other than that, honestly, once you're in the shop and you're working, I've told this to a couple people, you don't even notice the difference. We've got everything we could ask for. Our parts department stocked, and so it's hard as far as for just simple things like getting a chassis fixed or things like that. It's an extra 8-hour drive down to Charlotte and then coming back. So you got to think about the logistics that go into that. But that's a lot harder on the truck drivers and those guys that actually log the miles than us, as the crew chiefs and mechanics on them.
You've taken that big step, and I want to say congratulations to you, because I've always been one of your fans. I'm glad to see you've moved in that direction. But when you went up there, did you have any of the guys that worked with you before? Were any of them around, or do you have any of them with you on the team?
I don't actually at this point. We had a couple people that I talked to, but at this point it was all new people around me, and that was one of the big things. Is I had a little bit of a comfort zone at Scott and guys that I had around me for 3 years now. I had 2 of the guys that were with me the whole time I was there. So learning new people and learning how all the little quirks of everybody and getting everybody pointed in the right direction and working well together was something I was concerned about. But I mean, there's some real quality people up here, and I've got an incredible group of guys. They've all got such strengths, and getting pointed in the right direction was nothing. They're all racers. They all want to win. They're all excited about working with Ben, and everything's really been awesome so far and pretty effortless to this point. So that's been a cool deal to see.
All right, let's talk about some of the things that's going on in the truck series, things that's new to you and new to the truck series too. This 20-minute clock, how does that work from your standpoint as a crew chief? How do you plan for something like that? It's only been, I think you only had to use it one time, but how does that work out for you?
Well, it just kind of adds, you got to kind of have another plan. Like before, you would kind of be able, you'd have to have a couple plans. Like you'd have to sit down and think about, if it goes green, look at your fuel mileage. That's a big thing that it's pretty much taken out is fuel mileage. But I mean, it just kind of adds a element to what you got to pay attention to. And there's different strategies that haven't gotten played yet. I feel like they will at some point, so long as the rules stay the way that they are. But everything's been pretty simple. I think everybody's trying to kind of get the feel for how it happens in a race, and when the caution clock comes. It's different when you're sitting up on the box. I mean, calling a truck race is obviously way different than calling a K&N race. So luckily for me, I only did a few truck races over the last couple of years, so it's really all I know is having the caution clock at this point. But you just got to keep an eye on it. We got a running clock right on top of the toolbox, and then you just monitor it and keep an idea, keep your driver updated. If the truck's not driving good, you can tell them, all right, you only have to hold on for 5 more minutes. Things like that we can use to our advantage. So it's just something else that you got to watch. There are strategies that could be factored into it. They haven't been yet. I almost made a call at Atlanta to try to short pit it, but we had lost some track position, and I was going to try to get it back. But based off of where my pit was and how far Matt was out in front, I couldn't do it and make sure I stayed on the lead lap. So it's all relative to where you're running to the leader and how long it takes you to get to your pit box and things that you have to factor in to see if you can actually try to short pit and get on pit road before everybody else does prior to the caution clock going off.
You got something? So, Kevin, what's it like to go from H. Scott, where, I mean, they were kind of the big dogs in K&N to over here and they're kind of the big dogs in the truck series. I mean, I think they've won the last 3 championships.
2 of the last 3.
Two.
Yes.
Okay.
Matt won 2 of the last 3. He barely missed it last year. He would have been a champion had the chase been implemented, but that's wood, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. Like I said, to advance your career from one level to the next, to be able to stay with the same caliber organization is, I mean, it's unbelievable. To have that opportunity, I feel really, really fortunate. And I appreciate Duke and Robert Thorson giving me the opportunity, and Ben having the confidence in me to do it, and him wanting to work together again. So, yeah, just coming up here and working with a top-tier organization, it's awesome. The competition level in the truck series this year is just unbelievable. I mean, you just look at the depth of the series, and I mean, you look at KBM, and they've got unbelievable talent in all their trucks. You know, William, my driver from last year, is in that 9 truck. He's going to be fast all year. You got Christopher Bell. Every one of our drivers is capable of winning races and making the chase. Daniel Hemrick and Tyler Reddick in those BKR trucks, and all the Gallagher trucks have been running good. I mean, there is so much depth in the series that it's a much smaller gap, I would say. Like, H. Scott really has it covered in the K&M series. I feel like they were just such a premier organization, and I felt very fortunate to be a part of it.
Right.
And I come to ThorSports, which is also a premier organization, and it's just you got to really stay on top of everything and just find that little bit more every single week to try to get better, to make sure that you hopefully stay ahead of all the competition, because all those other teams are working just as hard as we are.
Go ahead.
You know, speaking of the chase, how does that affect the way you call a race?
What was that? I'm sorry?
Being with the new chase format, how does that change your calling of the race?
Well, I personally believe there will be 8 different winners in the truck series this year. Last year there wasn't. You could point your way in. I think you're going to have to win a race.
I
could be wrong, so we are paying attention to points and trying to be smart, but, I mean, it's going to make you be aggressive. You're going to have to push it and try to make a pit call here and there. Like I talked about at Atlanta, I almost made a call to try to get some track position and take a shot at it. The later we get in the year and the closer you get to the chase, the more that aggression is going to pick up. Right now, everybody's, trying to get off to a good start and get a good solid point base underneath them. But the closer you get to the chase, if you don't have a win, you're going to start getting really aggressive with calls, and I think that's going to be across the board with everybody.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting when it gets to that point. Now, you haven't worked with Ben in the past. I know you worked with him at H. Scott. How's the communication? Did it just pick back up like you were never apart, or did y'all still have to work on some stuff?
I honestly feel like we'd worked together the whole time. Him and William are different. They've got a little bit different personalities. They're very similar, but they just have a little bit different personality when they're in the race car. And but honestly, being back with Ben was effortless. I mean, we don't get to test too much with him because he's got the way that the system works. He's got a little bit too much experience, so we didn't get to go test before the season. But we spent a lot of time together. He lives in Louisville, but when he comes up to Ohio, he stays at my house, and we just spend time together. And he comes into the shop, and I felt like communication was going to be good. And then you go to Daytona, which is it's its own beast. You don't really have a lot of adjusting you have to do. You just kind of try to get them comfortable in the draft. So everything went great there. But we got to Atlanta, and it was awesome. I mean, I understood what he was saying. I still understood what he was saying. His feedback's the same as it was, which is excellent. And he's got the same feel that he had, which is good. And everything picked up right where we left off. So that was pretty exciting. We had to make some big swings. We didn't unload great at Atlanta, but we definitely made it a good enough truck to race in the top 5 by race day, and that was what mattered.
Well, Kevin, we appreciate your time tonight. I know you're a busy person, and I want to say congratulations on your move to ThorSport. We haven't had you on since you went over there. I am excited about it, and I can't wait to see you at Martinsville.
Yeah.
And I know it's a big deal for you, and I'm really happy for you, man.
It is a huge deal. I appreciate you guys, and we're excited. We got the Alpha Energy Solutions Toyota getting ready to go race in the Alpha Energy 250 at Martinsville in a month. So hopefully that's our race where we can get a win and all but lock ourselves in the chase, and then we can just race for fun until September, I think it is.
Well, good luck to you, and we're going to get you back again during the year and keep up with you. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your time, man, and I'll be talking to you at Martinsville.
Okay, I'll see you in Martinsville. Thank you, guys.
All right,
thank you, man.
All right, bye.
Bye.
I think Ben Rhodes could win Martinsville. I mean,
Yeah.
he is a good little driver.
I haven't even realized how close that race was. I thought it was at least more a month and a half away.
No, it's a
No.
month away. It's
Oh, man.
the first of next month.
I hadn't even realized it.
But I mean, it's really cool. I mean, these guys, Kevin, when he was with the Woods, he was there when my son was there, and they knew each other. And I've watched Kevin working. He was Scott Zipadelli's right hand man for a long time.
Okay.
So I was really excited about
Call
it.
from 7, 5, 7, 8, 9.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Jack Dodsons Racing, Mr. Godovic.
Hello there. Actually, it's evening where I am, but if you guys are based out of California, I understand it's afternoon.
No, we're not based in California, but it seems like it's afternoon to me. I mean,
I just had to catch there.
So how's everything going with you, and how's the racing stuff going?
It's going great. It's going great. Of course, the past 2 days, I'm not doing the fun stuff. I'm doing all the new business property tax returns and business license returns for these 17, 18 stores. So it's that's a lot of fun. And it's
I was going to say you need another job. Like I mean, you've got how many hats do you have to wear?
Well, quite a few these days.
Yeah, I would say.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, everything's going well. We've got through some of the initial growing pains of taking over the Xfinity team, and we secured the 46 number for 2016, which you all know is our favorite number, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And continue to improve the cars and kind of sort through some of the pieces that we don't need. And Jamie sold us a lot of good cars, a lot of good equipment, and it was in pretty good order. And we kept some of the people that were there that we felt that we could use moving forward, just based on our partial schedule. And they had a lot of good people all together. We just we could only justify keeping a skeleton crew there, but we've since added on at the end of the year, and Brandon's moved down to Mooresville to be closer, so he could work at the shop and help out.
So, what is your schedule for the rest of the year as far as your Xfinity car? Are you going to be running several races, or is it just going to be every now and then until you get some sponsorship lined up or whatever?
Well, we have a set schedule. If you go to the www.dtm646 website, you can see the schedule there. Matter of fact, to make it easier, I'm going to go there myself. They keep changing the schedule down there on me and adding new races. So so let me look at the schedule here, and that will help. Because Brandon's doing a number of different races. It looks like other than we did Daytona, we have Bristol's lined up with Brandon, Pocono, Indianapolis, Road America, Richmond, Kansas, Phoenix, and Homestead. So those are all with Brandon at this point. Some of the races we may take two cars if we have another driver, or it really depends on who comes over from the Euro Series. We've continued to build out that partnership.
So that was an interesting situation there when you brought that guy over, and I'm not even going to try to say his name,
Right.
But
for the K&N or for the Xfinity?
For Daytona.
For Daytona, what's it?
No.
Del
It
Sol.
was Anthony Coopin, and
Who was the guy in the K&N car? That's the one I'm thinking of, I guess.
that was Ulysses, and I believe it's pronounced Del Sol, from France. He's relatively new. I don't think that he's done many circle tracks at all, so that was quite the challenge for him there at New Smyrna. He did a good job. He's very slightly autistic, and he only speaks French. So
we had a little bit of issues communication-wise. We did have an interpreter, but overall, he did a great job. Unfortunately, we got spun, and he had a challenge getting the car back into gear, which put us down some laps. But overall, he was going for a solid finish, and did a good job. And we're willing to occasionally take on the newer drivers, especially for the Euro Series, to help build out that program and get more of their drivers coming over here, and hopefully more drivers heading over there.
How did you get that whole Euro partnership going? How did that come about?
A few years ago, there was I got a call from Jerome Galpin, and asking about Xfinity race, or a K&N race, and nothing really came of it. We gave some quotes, and then last year, through one of the people that was working with Jamie, they had rekindled the relationship there.
Okay.
And for us, and they ended up sending Anthony over to do Phoenix and Homestead. And Anthony's a great driver. I mean, he's a fantastic professional race car driver. He's 37. He's won numerous championships and road course racing in Europe, and fantastic to work with. He knows how to go through the process, and he's really a student of the sport. And he did a good job, really good job at Phoenix and Homestead, and which carried over to Daytona.
Now, one of the things I was interested in talking to you, are you still going to be dealing with the late model situation when the driver coaching or whatever you want to call that in the late model series too?
Sure. We're not heavily advertising that program. We've had a few people that have taken an interest. We moved all the K&N equipment to the Xfinity shop, and we still have late model equipment and modified equipment up in our shop in Virginia. So we are looking. We're building out a additional driver development program to not just drive the cars, but there's a lot of young racers at an early age that we've been approached by them and their parents to help guide them. So the direct answer there is yes. If the right late model person came along, we would continue with that program. We're just not really advertising that program right now, but we do have one car available this year, but that's not something that that we have anybody lined up right now and haven't advertised. But our main push, other than obviously the Xfinity and K&N, is I've done a number of these seminars with Maria Strahan and her her business, and that helps. It's marketing at full speed.
Right.
Helps guide some of these young drivers, and I think she does a fantastic job with the parents and the kids, and getting all the materials ready to approach teams like ours and sponsors, and we're gonna build out like a young driver development program that we're taking applications for now, that we can start with these kids when they're 12 or 13, and work with their parents, and even if they're not in a late model, just make sure they're in the right, whether it be the right Bandolero program or Legend program, and help them along the way to help develop them in preparation to be in one of our cars in the future. So it's everything from helping them with their sponsorship. Maria gets them started. We certainly recommend working with her. But then they can become part of our team, and rather than trying to sell a sponsor on the fact that I'm going to find a team once you give me money, they're already part of our team. We're already coaching them. They're getting the advantage of our sponsorship materials, our coaching from our drivers, and the guidance in order to get them the sponsorship that's necessary to move into the higher series, which you guys know is very expensive.
You got that right.
Yeah.
Well,
speaking of Ulysses, again, he dropped out of school when he was 14, tested with Mike Skinner last year at New Smyrna. how do you think he did, and how do you think he can improve?
Well, it's a seat time issue. Yeah, it's a tall order to show up first time at New Smyrna and the first time in the I believe it was the first time in the K&N car. Skinner was that was a late model or super late. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was a late model. Yeah.
And more testing is certainly always a good start. Being with us, it would be important to learn how to speak English.
Yeah.
And that's my recommendation there. But for the stuff that he took, I think he did well. The team certainly performed well in guiding him. Once again, it was a challenge getting past the language barrier there.
Yeah.
But once he got up to speed, he was reasonably competitive. We just he's back further in the field. So and then unfortunately we started going laps down once he got pushed around there. So but there's certainly somebody we can work with. But as you it's hard to come over just once a year and expect to have spectacular results, because he races in the NASCAR Euro Series, which if you know much about that, but I mean it's a fantastic series, and they've done a great job promoting the series. It's a great car, and they're very inexpensive to run, and it's a really good place to start over there, and so he's running in that series. But there's a limited number of circle tracks over there, and it's more like a late model, or more like a late model than a K&N car, obviously. So anyway, that's really the summary on that.
All right, here's the $64,000 question.
Uh-oh.
This is going to be a good one.
That's cheap in K&N, but go ahead.
But anyway, here's the question. When are we going to see Rick Godovic back in a modified?
Oh, the big question. Well, we have this beautifully done modified by Jay Hedgecock. That's I think it's being shipped from Virginia down to North Carolina to get plumbed and final prep. So it's a really nice piece there. So the hope is I'll be in it early this year.
Oh, really? That's that. Langley.
Langley.
Well, Rick, with your deal with Maria, I mean, she had a class with Langley Speedway, and you were a guest speaker there, and I learned a lot. I mean, I think that's a great marriage with her and you. You bring a different aspect, and I totally enjoyed listening to your speech there, with talking about searching for sponsorship. No one in the lower levels. A lot of us pay for that stuff out of our own pocket. And if you get part of a sponsorship, don't ask for the whole thing. I just thought you gave us a lot of insight that I totally took and have applied. And I personally took a lot out of it, and I totally enjoyed it for myself.
Well, good. Yeah, I would like to do a lot more of those this year. And there's a lot of people in the sport that are trying to take these parents' money and these kids' money, and unfortunately it's very rare that I find a good program like hers that her goal is to guide them through this process, because they just don't know, and the parents don't know, and a lot of people will just take your money and promise you the world, and it's really disheartening to me. So she, once I got to know her and saw what she had to say, she's hitting on all cylinders there.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I could sit there and talk for hours on end to the parents, and actually even after the seminar, I stay for another 2 hours to talk to. I mean, almost each one of the parents, stayed to sit down and get a little bit more information. And at the end of the day, we're just not one of those teams that's going to take your money and put you in junk and send you on your way. It's a much more holistic approach to making sure that the parents are being realistic about the performance of their child and where they're at and where they're going to end up, based on the family budget and what the potential is to gain sponsorship. So it's been done wrong for so many years, and one of the blessings I had was I came into the sport as a sponsor first before I ever got in a race car, or before I knew anything about racing, and so I saw it from that side first, and then as I moved into it, I just realized how people went about it just didn't make sense at all, and of course I'm a parent myself, and we've spent a lot of effort in developing Brandon and guiding him down some practical path here, and so I've experienced it firsthand from other people coming to us and trying to sell us a bill of goods, to meeting a lot of the people that do it right, and trying to spread that word. So the nice thing about our team is you can trust us to take care of you and your children, to make sure that in 5 years from now, we're all going to look back at each other and say we did the right thing.
You're definitely one of the few that, the trust is there. I think you're one of those guys that you shoot from the hip and you do the right thing for the people, and that's really a great thing. We even us that are on the outside looking in, we really appreciate what you do for all those kids.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, most definitely.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's something I really enjoy, and hopefully we'll get more effort get more time this year to spend with the parents, and I think this new driver development program is the perfect start, because we can catch them early before the parents. I hate to walk into the pits and see the looks in the parents' eyes as they try to move their children up through this incredibly expensive sport. And the disappointment that I've seen so many people that have fallen out, and they spent their retirement and they were just not led down the correct path for years. So our hope is to get these kids under our belt early, make sure that they're everything from physically prepared to race to mentally prepared, and the parents and the children have the correct expectations moving forward, and working with the family budget to make sure that they end up with hopefully a well-educated child that is a solid racer. That there's just not enough development going on. You just don't throw kids in race cars and think that they know what they're doing. although that's what happens most of the time. But and I'm a parent, but I hate to but we've had multiple successes, but Brandon's just a perfect example of developing the right way, and that's why he can show up in just about any type of car and know how to go through the process. And he knows how to work on race. He's been working on a race car since he's been 11. Since he was 11, he understands the cars. He understands what it takes to show up and get it done. So that's where we want. That's where we want to get these other kids.
Well, he's a good. I say he's a kid. He's not really a kid that much anymore. But he's a good kid. Has it surprised you how well he has adapted to road racing?
Are you talking about Brandon?
Yeah.
That's a perfect example. Other than I think three or four K&N road races, and we did send him to two schools. Basically 1-2 day events. And part of what I do as a coach and a trainer is to help these parents understand the difference between natural talent and trained talent. I can take you, Scott, and I can assess your ability in a very short. I'll take you to the go-kart track.
Well, don't tell anybody what you see though, because they might not.
I can assess that pretty good myself with him.
Bring it also.
The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take you and your parents to the go-kart track, and I'm gonna race with you, and I'm gonna get a really good feel for the chemistry with you and your parents, and your natural ability, and we're gonna start from there, and then there's some kids that everybody's different on the natural ability scale.
Right.
Our goal is to take you from wherever you're at and maximize your potential, and make you a safe, proficient driver, or hopefully a winning driver. And some kids it takes a lot longer than others. Brandon's ability to show up in that Lamborghini, which is not highly recommended for anybody that if you're concerned about wrecking or has a history of wrecking race cars, because I tell you what, he hit the underside of that car, that carbon fiber diffuser at VIR. They dug a hole, in the side of the track, with all the cars, running their wheels off of the track.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of the race, there was a big enough hole that when you hit that curb, which you were supposed to, and get on the outside of it there, it broke a little crack in that diffuser. Well, that was a $9,000 bill.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Okay. So, but other than that, in 14 races,
that's pretty good.
He didn't put a scratch on that car.
Yeah, that's pretty good. If that's all you tore up, that's a win.
Yeah, and you got to be careful who you're doing that with. But it's once again, it's a testament to multiple things, and he's at a different place on the natural ability scale than others. Some are better than him, and he's better than others. So you try to work it carefully there. But hey, whatever happened, I mean, he was well prepared. We had 10 wins, 10 amateur wins, and won the North American Championship. And it rained, and when it rains, it'll separate the men from the boys. And so he won the world championship, not just amateur, but he beat all the Gallardos in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's pretty good.
Yeah, so it was once again. I mean, he's one of our trainers. He's one of our coaches. He's the first guy that we're going to plug into the car wherever we go, and to help gauge the car and help these other drivers. And once he started driving, I started getting better. I can tell you that. Because everybody thought, because I've been in the car more, but really what's going on is we were certainly putting all the right people around him, the right equipment. At the same time, he was coaching me and tuning me into things that I didn't really. It just didn't come to me as quickly as it came to him. But once he showed me how to do it, I started seeing significant improvement.
Yeah, I thought it was funny the story you were telling us at that seminar, where I think when you showed up at New Hampshire a day late, and Brandon told you need to let off at, what was it, like sign number 3, and you were like, what?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he was taking it down to a little bit past 1, and I was still working on 3. It was just it was like the day that we first climbing the K&N at Dover, and I think I was like in high 20s in practice, and he was in the kind of low teens. First time there for both of us, and he said, "Well, you're going to have to hold it to the floor all the way around." I'm like, "Oh, for God's sakes, don't tell me that." So he's like, "Come on, follow me." So we went out full bore. Some of my favorite pictures on Facebook are he and I chasing each other in that practice, and I was a little high on him going in. We came out full bore, and I was slightly high on him. I saw the first lap. I saw a little bit of flame shoot out. He just burped the throttle, and we were full throttle going into the turn. And he effectively pushed me to do that. And if you don't do that, that nose will slide. I mean, you're just going to slide the nose there, and especially under qualifying. So I can guarantee you I held it to the floor in qualifying, and unfortunately, the steering locked up, but still, it was interesting. But he and I had to start in the back because we had to do a motor change on him. But first time there, he drove it up to 4th from the back. But unfortunately, he ran out of gas on a green-white checker. So,
oh man! So how fun is it to race with your son? I mean, y'all did that for a few years there. I mean, that had to be a lot of fun, and to see Brandon win his first K&N race. I mean, that's got to be pretty gratifying as a father, as a car owner, and to see him, at a professional level succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I look forward to racing with him more. It's we always kind of talk about what's going to happen, and that if I ever can finally catch him on that last lap of what I'm going to do or what he's going to do, but we would have no problem wrecking each other and laughing about it.
Right.
So, well, he could end up having to fix my car anyway, so if he wrecks me.
Right, he's gonna fix it either way, right?
So, just for shits and giggles, who is the better racer, you or Brandon?
What's that?
Who is better, you or Brandon?
Oh God, that's a no-brainer. So.
Is it? Then which one is it?
Well, I continue to get better, but I just, my crash ratio is certainly a little higher than him. I was telling his parents, is like, it's devastating when Brandon ever wrecks, or he's literally spun a car twice on his own in like 8 years here. But it's just, but I always tell everybody, some people go through, and I've seen kids, and it happened to me, is I had to go through this period of wrecking a lot. If there was a crash on the track, I can guarantee you, I don't care if I was just passing you, I was going to come around and I was going to find you and finish you off. And so I had a pretty high crash ratio there early on, and it took a while to get over it. But I've seen that in the past couple of years, and what some of the young kids is they get tunnel vision. They just don't look at the wreck, and what they do is they stare at the wreck and they drive right into it. And you can, and from the outside it looks like, what in the world were you doing? But on the inside, I think it helps me with the coaching, because all the things that I did, a lot of these kids, they do the exact same thing when they're new. So it's really encouraging for the parents, for me, prior to seeing their son or daughter do something on the track, whether it be you running into people or running into wrecks. I usually explain to them, here's what's likely to happen before it happens, and then it happens.
Right.
And then I explain to them, well, here's how we're going to get them over that, or get her over that. So sometimes it's a double-edged sword if you come out of the gate and you're really, really good at it, because sometimes you don't become a student of it. Like a lot of people that, like myself, that really had to struggle and really learn it from scratch. So we kind of experienced that with Brandon, where we kind of had to backfill some things after a while, because he didn't experience spinning a lot or wrecking a lot, or and some of the other things that most people have to deal with.
So other than Brandon, who was the best driver to come through your program?
I'm sorry?
Other than Brandon, who's the best driver that you felt has come through your program so far?
Let's see here. We haven't had a lot of people, in the past couple of years come through. Trying to think of who. I'd have to say Anthony Coopin. When you take a look at, he is. There's race car drivers and there's professional race car drivers. He from the moment he gets up in the morning, the moment he goes to bed, he is planning his life and his fitness and his mindset around racing and improving. So, even though once again you're talking about somebody running sixth in the draft in his first Xfinity race, having absolutely no experience, and that's probably the 12th time he's been on the circle track. And he had to learn the draft, and unfortunately we lost the draft, and but still a solid finish, for where we're at. But he's we've had some good guys, don't get me wrong, and at different things. But other than Brandon, he's certainly my favorite, and certainly one of the best. We could continue to develop him and get him seat time, keep him in a good car, and I believe he would be very successful in NASCAR over here.
So, Rick, how many CompuServe Verizon Wireless stores are we up to? And just to so you know, we're talking on a Verizon Wireless phone.
Oh, thank you. It's only the best. In good conscience, I couldn't sell you any other type of phone. That's why we have Verizon stores. Right now we have 17 open in Virginia and Maryland, and I've signed 27 leases in Virginia and Maryland. So
Good gracious.
there's a couple more. So we'll and then we're negotiating to buy another group of 5 stores. So before the end of the year, we'll have at least 38.
Good gracious.
So why did you get into the cell phone business?
Because I needed money for racing.
That makes enough sense.
Next question.
And that was the best answer right there.
Yeah.
So, Rick, how did you get into? Well, not get into. I think it's pretty cool how you've made this like the speed, how fast Verizon is, and having the race cars on the wall. I mean, you got some of the coolest looking stores to me, and I hope maybe one day in the future that we could maybe do a couple of shows from your stores. But you not only your son's there, you've got some of the local guys that have raced in the area. You've got them plastered through your stores, and I think that's just really cool how you support the local guys. And man, to have a K&N car hanging on the wall, whose idea was that?
It was mine. And they all thought they all think I'm crazy.
Right.
It turned out well. Actually, Brandon and Roger Sawyer works for us in Gloucester, and Bruce Kimmel, along with Charles Denyke, our engineer crew, team manager. They all designed that. There's a frame underneath that body that.
I was wondering.
Yeah, it's really cool. They built a frame underneath it, and then they also built like a transport, like a roller transport that they can roll it into the hauler, and they can actually lift it up and down like it's really cool. I mean, that's the beauty of having. You got a combination of of course all of our guys can weld. Roger Sawyer's definitely an amazing welder, but they can all weld, and then you match a little bit of engineering with Roger Sawyer can fabricate anything.
Right.
On top of the fact that you can get in any one of our race cars and immediately go fast. Despite the fact that he hasn't been in for a while, but so anyway, they built this really cool frame, and we literally roll it out of the hauler and turn it up sideways, roll it into the door, and it comes right off of that stand and lifts up onto hangers under the wall. And so everybody added their, Brandon was that one in Virginia Beach. Everybody, kicked in a lot there, and Brandon did a lot of the welding along with Roger and Bruce Kimmel, and Charles helped them design that. So really cool stuff, and we really want to wrap the Verizon network. Hands down, it's the best network. If you want to be on our team and travel with us, you have to be on Verizon. And no offense to the Sprint Cup, but it is what it is.
So am I not allowed to come around until I switch my phone over?
Yeah. You need to we'll hook you up. So yeah, it's a great concept. When you walk into our stores, it's just with all the wall graphics of the K&N cars, the Xfinity cars, the Lamborghini. It's much more interesting than a standard store, and we're not done yet. I was talking to one of our motor builders about doing some motor, cutaways for us. We're going to be giving away, like pistons and things that are monogrammed for the team and for the company. We give away shirts. Right now, if you walk in and you do an activation or an upgrade, you get a free one of my diecast cars or one of our free team shirts. And it's everybody's really embracing it, and we're going to continue to share wall space with a lot of local racers, and get them some advertising space, and they can take their family and friends in there, and it's really kind of their store. So we did it. We did it in Pocosa. It's fantastic. We have Danny Edwards, Greg Edwards, representing Danny's class, and Greg's with one of the radio stations, as well as Casey Wyatt, and so we're going to continue that in each of the stores moving forward. I think it's a really interesting concept, and we're going to advertise for them, and try to help everybody out.
Well,
Well, Rick, we appreciate your time tonight. It's been great talking to you. It's been a lot of fun. We really appreciate you giving us a little time, and we really like being around you. You're a cool guy. We really do like it.
He talks just as much as us.
Yeah.
Hey, no, I appreciate it. Any time, and yeah, hopefully I look forward to meeting up with you guys on the tracks here shortly and having some fun.
Hey, look, tell your guys when we go back down to Charlotte, they need to keep the shop open while we're there.
Hey, they don't go out in the snow.
we found out.
Yeah, we found out about that.
I haven't trained them on driving in the snow yet, but I'll work on that.
We were probably the only fools that were out in the snow.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
That's funny. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
All right, man.
Sure, bye.
That really is great, you know.
Yeah, he really is, and Rick has done a good job. His stores do look pretty cool. I mean, you see him all over Facebook now with the K&N car or the Xfinity car hanging on the wall. They got one down here at in Laskin Road.
Yeah.
And like I said, in Pocosin, which, I mean, you can't go to Pocosin and not talk about Danny Edwards or Greg Edwards, because that's where those guys are from. They're all on the wall. They got the whole wall. It's got the cars, you know, with Danny and Greg, and then Casey White, in supporting the local guys. So it's pretty cool stores. And I do like in the beginning when he first started opening the stores that he had that little cartoon character, and they had like Batman slapping somebody, and it was like, this is what you get if you don't buy your phone from one of Rick's stores. You know, it was so funny. He's got a pretty good sense of humor.
He's funny.
I like the free diecast.
Yeah, you get a diecast or a team shirt if you go get a phone.
Is it 164 or 124? Do you know?
That I'm not sure.
You know this. You try to figure out get another phone.
I mean, I've been thinking about upgrading to an iPhone 6, and I've been thinking maybe a faster network.
Well,
all right.
Well, Verizon will definitely hook you
before
up.
Before we go off the air, which is coming up very quick, we need to make our picks. Reese, you're first because you were last.
All right, again, we got Las Vegas this week. I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm going. I want to say Logano. I'll go Kozlowski. Watch
11th hour.
Watch Logano win.
You want to go Keselowski? I'm going to go for. I'm going to go with Kevin Harvick.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Clayton said, who's he going with?
Clayton was going with, I think. Wait a minute.
I think if somebody doesn't pick,
he's going with the 22.
That's Logano.
Vegas.
All right, 3-time.
Vegas. Man, I'm not.
I was thinking about this all day today. I'm
gonna go with Jimmy. I didn't go with Jimmy. I went with Carl Edwards last week. It'll be the first time pick. I don't hardly pick Jimmy for anything. Kind of because I'm kind of tired of
I
him
took
win.
Jimmy Johnson the other day. I did.
Yeah. Before we go off the air, I got to give a shout out to one of our dirt racing buddies. To Dylan Brockwell. Apparently had some dental stuff and is doing better than he was, but he's having a really hard time. So please keep him in your prayers. Please Twitter and Facebook, #BrockwellStrong or DBR Strong. I'll make sure I'll post that on our thing and prayers to them and we never want to see a fellow racer struggle, but he's struggling for his life. So please keep him in your prayers, and we'll think about him and hopefully to see him back at the track one day.
You know something, and that's true. We don't like to see anybody struggle like that, but something we failed to mention a couple weeks ago, and I feel really bad about it. Somebody brought it to my attention last week. We skipped right over the fact that Lenny Pond passed away.
We did.
Yes.
We did.
We skipped right over that. And I want to say
Right before, the day before, or 2 days before, the day honored him at arena racing.
Yeah. And up until the morning of that race, they thought he was going to be there, but his health took a turn for the worse. That's what Ricky told me, at least.
Yes.
And
he
then
ended up in the hospital
2 days
there.
later. Yeah.
So,
A local legend.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
For sure.
He was the man that everybody kind of looked at from around here that went off and done a great job and won a cup race and
I know Len O'Neill was doing a lot. He ran a paint scheme of his. He was giving T-shirts away with Lenny Pond, and that's the reason his car is painted up. 2VA was to contribute to Lenny Pond, so he was real high on him, and I didn't know that, but Lenny Pond actually helped work on his car and in his late model days and helped him build some cars and helped his crew and so forth. So
yeah, they were Len O'Neill and Lindsey Pond. They raced at Southampton at one time, and Lenny was coming to Southampton with them at the time. And matter of fact, I even think he was selling. He was in our area selling Lance crackers and stuff at one time. Yeah, he was on a Lance truck after his career in racing. He come around. Then he went to Heritage Chevrolet there in Chester, and that's where he was working. Tried very hard year before last, or maybe even last year, to get him to come on the show, and he said that with everything going on, he's he's not in racing. He doesn't want to talk about racing. And when they said he was going to the arena race, it was kind of shocking to me to hear that.
Yeah.
But
well, it was supposed to be.
But I hate for we skipped over that and didn't even mention it.
No.
And
well, how we're like Rick. We get to run our mouth and
yeah. But I had a lot of Lenny Pond stuff when I was younger, long time ago.
I got diecast.
Hey, you know what? When Rick was talking about coaching a driver, he picked me when he said that, right?
No,
we don't know that.
Yeah, that's what he said. He's like, if I took Scott,
he
he knew that I was the best driver.
That
up
was
here.
the first thing that popped in his mind, because he knows good and well that, like the rest of us, you don't have that much talent.
I hate to say this. I've heard your stories about racing.
Mm-hmm.
I got a better shot here, buddy.
You got a what?
I got a better shot here. I will take Rick up on the offer. If he wants to meet me at a go-kart track, I will show him just how.
I want to be there to run this.
I want to see that.
I'm gonna stuff you so far in the wall.
All right, you want bet? We can do this.
Oh, there's no doubt. Let's do it.
When and where?
All right. Well, we're going to talk about this off air before neither one of them.
Listen, I would.
We'll have to get Jack, but he'll have to get two motors.
You be going backwards. Face it.
It'll still be faster laps than you're running. I'll promise you that.
I want that, sir. I want that.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week. And
do we have anybody lined up next week?
Not right at this moment. I had Shelby Blackstock lined up for this week.
So Shelby,
for the second straight week.
He's famous.
Bullshit.
Whatever. Anyway,
Kelly Clarkson had her last thing there with American Idol, and probably had his emotional week.
You know what? I care more about Danica Patrick's morning routine than I do about American Idol. I care more about the Vegas odds that Danica Patrick wins a race in her entire life than I do American Idol.
I don't know if she'll
Can
ever
we
win a
touch
race.
on Clint Boyer real quick? How he doesn't
About
know,
his face plant?
No, how he doesn't know where brakes are.
Oh, he knew where they were at about.
A little too
It
late.
was about 20 feet before
he
the
was
thing,
on
but
the brake. He just couldn't stop it. That's all.
Yeah, but that was pretty funny.
So that was a lot of fun.
He thought it was funny. He thought it was funny too.
Yeah.
And we've been around him a couple times in Richmond. And
he is funny. Did you see the thing they put out? They were talking about Kevin Harvick's little boy. And
Yeah.
Delana was making comments on Facebook about Clint being in the booth, and you're like, why is Mr. Clint talking on TV? Is he retiring like Mr. Jeff did? it's funny to listen to kids because they just have a raw honesty about things, you know.
Kids say the darndest things.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
But and before the race started, I don't know if you noticed that they scanned. They were going to go to commercial, and they had the in-car camera in Kevin's car. And look, you seen the helmet sitting there, and look, and it was Keelan had the helmet on, sitting in the race car.
They got a picture on Facebook of him in the suit.
Yeah. I mean, that just shows you how family-oriented NASCAR is.
Yeah.
You know, and I tell most people to talk about getting into the sport. You know, I see a lot of them at some of the shows, and they're like, "How do I get my kid into it?" And when I tell them that they start them out at about 3 years old, they're like, "What?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, with a weed eater motor, running around Langley Speedway." And I'm like, dude, this is probably the best family-oriented sport that you could probably get into.
But it's the most expensive. Shoot, we should get some lawnmower races going.
But you think about the kids in racing. I had a son that anything that was round, he picked up from the age of 1, 2 years old. If it was round, he picked it up, and he was driving through the house racing. And now he's in racing. You know, it's just kind of weird how that, you know, you have that in your mind that that's what I'm going to do.
But when you're raised around it,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, I wasn't raised in a family, but yeah, I had the same experience.
But I would encourage anybody that wants to get into racing, start out at the Hampton Roads Karting Club over at Langley Speedway. Get your kid over there, and it's not that expensive karting to get started and to have fun. And it's all about having fun. And they learn from other kids. I know some people out there have their kids, and they don't get to race next week because they either didn't do good or they got a bad progress report. And it teaches responsibility, working on your own car, and it's family time together. So, right, yeah, keep them busy, absolutely, because a race car is a full-time job.
You know what we used to always say? Keep them in cars, not behind bars. Hey, it rhymes and it works. Kids need something that rhymes and works.
There you go.
That helps.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week, and we'll have another big show, and maybe Reese will be back. We're not sure yet, but
Tune in, find out.
yeah,
That's right.
Maybe I'll wear neon green instead of neon orange.
All right.
Hey,
We'll tell you
guys,
next week.
week.